Time to get to work. So, it's lunchtime around here. I'm gonna go for a little walk, see who I can find. Let's go.
Talking about the grandma, and the grandma did, the grandma had an abortion. You were talking about that, and you're like, yeah, that sounds really filmic. And I was like, yeah. And then I think the only comment you had about the actual script was the dialogue. Something you didn't like the dialogue, and you thought the story was filmic. You know?
So this was so with all that said, this is the most interesting statement he made in that book so far for me.
Yeah.
He said all filmmaking should be documentary filmmaking.
Ah.
Do you know what he means by that?
No.
Okay.
I feel that would be.
I'm still trying to figure it out. But
that would be my question, because sometimes I feel like people use words and they use words as terms, and when you use words as a term, you have to ask people, what do you mean by that term?
Exactly.
Before you can even.
And that's what he's doing. So
Yeah.
what he kind of broke it down a little bit by giving examples of what he's talking about. And so what he said is like juxtaposition. You use juxtaposition in film. That's filmmaking. That his argument was that is film. That is the filmic cinematic language.
Yeah.
That we're supposed to use.
Yeah.
Is like
the
juxtaposition.
Old Hitchcock thing where it's like a piece of cake, a man's face, and then back to the cake.
Right.
That tells the story that he's hungry.
Exactly.
It's the juxtaposition of the images.
Yeah. So I guess that'd be interesting too. Is visually like the spoken word that we did together. There was blood on the road.
Yeah.
Logically, maybe that doesn't make a lot of sense. Would you actually touch the blood even like in real life if it's a real linear narrative?
Yeah.
Probably not, right? Logically.
Maybe.
But something maybe, yeah. But it's like to have that visual representation that is kind of abstract.
Yeah.
To communicate something. Like, actually, this was interesting. Terrence Malick, you know what Terrence Malick is? So Terrence Malick, I guess one of the things he likes to do is he likes to film. He calls them, I just read it too in this article about him and the way he works in his recent work, Hidden Life, that's coming out.
Okay.
What he would do is he would film a scene in one location, and then he would be inspired and he would change that same scene to a different location, shoot the same exact scene in a totally different location. And then he would do it like 3 or 4 or 5 times, whatever he felt like.
Sounds annoying.
And so So then in editing, you would have these different scenes, and he would actually use that.
All
and
four scenes.
So you're communicating. The idea, I guess, is to communicate an idea with that setup. Not really that these two people are having a conversation or these two people are dialoguing and having an argument or whatever the scene is about. So it's not really about what the scene's about. It's more about what the scene is communicating with emotion, I guess, or ideas, you know.
Yeah.
Which leads me, as a segue,
Okay.
into the question I wanted to ask you, which was Oscars.
Oh yeah. You're talking about that.
I'm just letting the camera roll right now.
Okay.
That was kind of candid, and we're just going for it.
Got it.
So this is Mojo, everybody.
Hi, I'm Mojo.
Welcome to the vlog, Mojo.
Well, thank you.
And I like our composition here. I'm part of the tree.
Yes, you are. But that's because he's very grounded.
I have my roots
in Christ.
In the ground.
In which you should give your life to. Okay.
That's right.
I'm going to put that in everybody.
That's awesome. I love it. Because that's actually the topic I want to talk about.
Okay.
So I didn't watch the Oscars at all.
Cool. We are
and you didn't really watch it either, right?
No, I missed it.
But we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, that's the way you should do things. No, don't.
Because I did see...
Okay.
You have time?
Yeah.
You good? Okay.
Good.
We're here at lunchtime. Okay, this is our lunchtime. So we don't have a whole lot of time. We're not like full-time YouTubers or anything like that.
No.
So we have jobs, you know.
Not like you dirty YouTubers who can just make videos all day, you know.
That's right.
Living your dream. Demonetized.
So one of the things I saw was Joaquin Phoenix's acceptance speech.
Cool.
Which, by the way, I just want to say as a disclaimer for video's sake, I love Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay.
I love him as a person, as we all should love each other.
Yes.
And I love his performances. I love his films and his work, basically, that he does, right? But it seems like he's been very outspoken in his recent awards that he's been winning for his latest role, the Joker role.
Cool.
And he's been very outspoken in his worldview and what that is.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like it's Christian. I could be wrong. But what he said in his acceptance speech was really interesting. He quoted his brother, River Phoenix, "If we run to the rescue with love, peace will follow." And I started kind of thinking about that statement, and I was like, you know what? Wow, Jesus said the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that...
Did he?
What's interesting... Yes, he did. Because he essentially said, love each other. Before he died, one of his last sermons he gave his disciples was to love one another as I have loved you, right?
Yeah.
And of course, in the whole context of Scripture, you can say that his peace follows that love, that he is love.
Okay.
And I guess when I heard that speech, I thought it was fascinating how no matter what the worldview is, the human experience is still the human experience. So we tend to always distill down to those defaults of morality, of love. Like, what is the best thing that you could have? I mean, it's argued so many times it's love, you know? And so that was just my thoughts on it, on what I thought in that immediate moment when I heard him say that. And I thought it was just interesting, you know, coming from a secular event, from a person that doesn't have necessarily a Christian worldview. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any thoughts?
Yes. I don't think that at all. I have the opposite thing. A lot of times people take the conclusions of Christianity and they minus God or some of the other Christians' fundamental parts of it, and they think they can come to the same conclusion. They use that conclusion as an assumption, as like their starting point, right? And we do it a lot in the West and we fail to notice that the West has been completely absorbed into it a lot of Christian fundamental ideas, that all humans are equal, that you should love people, that everyone is equal, that men and women are equal, that someone who is strong is equal to someone who is weak, that someone who is capable of helping people is equal to someone who is not capable of helping people. Like a lot of assumptions that are built up there. Those are not assumptions those are not conclusions, I'm sorry. They have a lot of assumptions that are not conclusions of other worldviews. Morals does not exist under atheism. You remove God from the picture, you cannot say there is evil. To simplify that one, it's just if there's evil, there's good. If there's good and evil, then there's a law that separates good from evil. Yeah. And if there's a law that separates good from evil, where is your foundation of that law? Where is your reference point for that law? And it can't be in other humans because humans disagree. It can't be in two cultures because cultures disagree. So if it's not humans and it's not cultures, then who is it? Many atheists, like Richard Dawkins said, at bottom, when he talks about the universe, he's talking about everything. At bottom, there is no good, evil, right, wrong, just pitiless indifference. You know, that's what like leading atheists come to the conclusion of. They also come to the conclusion that like Sam Harris will say things like he'll be all moralistic, more morals, and then he'll end his like book with like, oh, by the way, humans are determined, which means we're like robots essentially. That's just an example of how these things play out, right?
Yeah.
People like even Aristotle. Now this is like the time of like Jesus or before Jesus, I think it was. You know, he has statements like the barbarians are better suited for slavery. He's talking about foreigners are better suited for slavery, right? You're just suited for that, and that was a very common belief. All humans are not equal. That is a conclusion of Christianity because everyone's made in the image of God, based on the reason that math, right? Everyone's made in the image of God. Come to the conclusion, okay, all humans are equal. There's no Jew, there's no Greek, or there's no Jew, there's no Gentile. Okay, so we're all, you know. Loved your wives like Jesus loved the church, right? And, you know, wives love your husband, right? Okay, so wow, we're all equal and we're all supposed to be treating each other extremely valuably, right? That's the conclusion of Christianity that people use as an assumption and then remove all our math, our previous math.
Right.
And they just use that as an assumption. Oh yeah, love everybody, duh. No, that's not a, you show your work. So
Okay.
I think what the Bible does say though, is that everyone has a sense of morals and and we know that torturing babies for fun is evil. That is something that everyone. If you don't agree with that, you don't need a philosopher. You need a therapist. You know, it's like it's not a problem with you reasoning wise. It's an emotional issue that you have a problem with.
Yeah.
So,
and that's I think the crux of what I was getting at too, that I saw fascinating, because I also read recently Mere Christianity.
yeah.
Have you read that?
No.
No, it's
I've only watched
really good.
videos or whatever.
Yeah, it's really good. Obviously, it's a classic.
Yeah.
But in that book, he talks about this very topic of, you know, we don't know what it's like to be a tree. We don't know what it's like to be an animal. We don't know what it's like to be at the beginning of all creation, at the beginning of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And we can argue about all these different things all day, the Big Bang Theory, all these different things. But at the end of it, the bottom line is we all know what it's like to be a human being.
Yeah.
And we all know deep inside what it means to have a moral code,
Mm-hmm.
and what it means to be loved, and to, like what Joaquin Phoenix also talked about was second chances, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
How he admitted that he is not the best actor to work with, the best person to work with sometimes, and there's been a lot of people around him who have given him grace and given him second chances.
Yeah.
And in my life, that's proven to be true too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, with each other, with at work, with other people, you know, we all need second chances. And I think, I don't know, this is kind of a ramble, but and it's okay to be a ramble, but I think it's a good, valuable ramble, and I think at the end of it, because we got to get back to work.
Yeah.
It is all about love, but what I would add to what Joaquin Phoenix said, as Christ compels you.
Yeah.
That's the crux of it, I think.
If I may, I like the way Ravi Zacharias put it sometimes, because I watch a lot of his things. You know, they ask Jesus, like, what's the most important commandment or whatever, and he says, love God and love your neighbor. And without the loving your God part, you know, love your neighbor is firmly planted in thin air. Like, there's like no reason to. And I guess I would challenge him to think about, you know, why love all sentient beings. They don't love you back. You know, roaches aren't doing anything for you, you know. But also taking the question that, like, he's going to meet that creator, that judge at the end, right? And that judge will say, you know, hey, dude, you failed, and you admitted it in front of everybody, so now we all know you failed. So unless he's accepted his check and stance that he was given by Jesus, he's going to have to pay for it himself. I'm glad Oscars or whatever gave you a second chance. You know, I don't know what you did, but it's just, ultimately, it's going to come down to you and God, and are you going to, have you previously accepted what God has done for you? And if not, then you'll be paying for it.
Right,
yourself.
exactly. And that's why it's such a valuable conversation to have, you know, taking a look at these current events and looking at it from this worldview, because at the end of it, at the end of our life, when our life ends, Jesus Christ is the only one that can really save us.
Yeah. Yeah, amen.
Yeah. That's it.
You
We're
put
done.
your hand on the thing? Or?
No, that's it.
Okay.
We're going to go back to work now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mojo.
No problem. I hope all of that was good.
time to go home.